Continue the discussion on Ajadavada. The last 3 sessions we have mostly discussed the main theory of Ajadavada. Now some questions are there related to that. So we take up next question. So in the discussion, we came to know that Jiva, that is individual consciousness, Jagat as the creation, is also the manifestation of Brahman. Brahman become these two. There is another factor we have indicated is Maya. The Maya is said to be the inherent power of Brahman. This is what we discussed. Now the question is this inherent power as Maya is the same as Ishvara, or it is different from Ishvara? It means the relation between Maya and Ishvara. Here we have to explain little bit regarding these two. What is the relation? We will see the definition of Maya and the concept of Ishvara as Supreme God, as consciousness, Almighty, all-pervading. It is interesting in Vedanta, this is the only metaphysics that brings the reality into experience directly. Therefore, to say about Vedanta, Vedanta has no imagination. It means the metaphysics of Vedanta is not with any imagination. And there is no suppose. There is no, the unreal things discussed or to be based on beliefs, hypothesis, what we say. So there is nothing unreal thing projected and then you have to believe it. So this concept is not there in Vedanta. Now I shall explain this point because this Maya theory is confusing, because there is a misinterpretation connected to this Maya theory. Now we have to know the nature of Ishvara the Supreme Consciousness, and Maya. So these are all actually philosophical terms. We can say the Vedantic technical terms. When we say technical term, each technical term has a specific meaning, correct meaning connected to that particular philosophy. We can take the one technical term from one school of philosophy to another philosophy, or we cannot bring it into our normal study and explain it. Therefore, we have to know these special terms very correctly. Now, I will start with Brahman. Okay? You see, the Brahman is not a separate entity other than Jiva or this world as creation, the objects. Brahman is subject as well as object, as well as the functions of all the living beings, sentient or insentient, everything. Now this word Brahman is itself a technical term. It is not saying any separate entity, anything like you imagine a God, the form of God, or imagine something like a big mountain or something like that. Nothing. Even cosmos is not Brahman. So nothing, it means it has its own specific purpose to use this word. Okay? Now what does it mean? Etymologically we say, there is a root in Sanskrit, Brahma. Brahma Vriddhau. The meaning of root says, which is extensively grown. To extensively grow. That is the Vriddhau. Now, what can be extensively grown can acquire, can be connected to whatever created. That is the meaning of that. It means the word wants to give a meaning. This meaning of this word is the greatest of all the creation. Greatest in the sense, literally greatest. It is accepting everything. It is there in everything, out everything. It is the cause of everything, ultimate cause of everything. It is the present, it is the past, it is the future. So now, what does it mean? The Brahman word is derived from this particular root, and it means it will be in the form of whatever you see, whatever you imagine, whatever is there in the creation. Nothing is out of that. So this is the word meaning of Brahman. Now we will think about that. How can it be possible? So in this concept of Brahman, there is no separation of anything in that. Because when we say Brahman is everything, all pervading, you cannot separate anything from that. It means there is no matter-energy division. There is no any kind of functional divisions. If the matter or energy, matter changes into energy, energy changes into matter, or whatever the quantum physics says, it all is one. The all process is one, because it is within Brahman. So therefore, what is manifested as Vyakta, what is unmanifested as Avyakta, what already manifested and what would be manifesting, everything is that. So therefore, we conceive the idea of this Brahman as the ultimate cause. No other way to know this Brahman other than knowing it as ultimate cause of the creation. Therefore, in Vedanta, if we see from the point of view of Brahman, there is nothing else. So this is the concept there. In that, to remember, in that Brahman, there is no division as Maya, there is no division as Ishvara, there is no division as Jiva, individual consciousness, there is no division as the Jagat creation. Nothing is divided there. So the nature of Brahman, we have already discussed in last sessions. That is Sat, Chit, Ananda. This particular ultimate cause as Brahman has these three qualities. If you see the qualities, you will know the meaning, correct meaning of Brahman. That is Sat, the existence, the purest form of existence, without any adjunct, without anything adding into it. That is existence. Existence of everything. Now the second is Chit, consciousness. And then comes the Ananda. So through these three inherent form or inherent nature of the Brahman, we experience the Brahman everywhere, and we experience the Brahman always within us and without. Because there is existence everywhere. Objective existence, subjective existence, it is there everywhere. Now, then comes the next point. If this is the case, we are as seekers, sadhakas, in the beginning, unable to conceive this idea of Satchidananda, the all-pervadingness of the Brahman. Because our mind, intellect is not ready for that. Therefore, we are unable to conceive it. So in this point, the teaching of Vedanta starts. You got the point where the teaching of Vedanta starts. If you can be experienced in that stage of Satchidananda, with any means, in any cost, in any event, then there is no need for any teaching. But there is a stage, normally 99.9% of sadhakas, they are unfit for this stage. So then the Vedanta starts to make us conceive this idea. How can be this Brahman, as all-pervading? As I said, etymologically, extensively grown, extensively the great tester of all creation. Whatever you know, whatever you conceive. Therefore, Vedanta brings a methodology to explain it. This is called Vedantic methodology. Unless one seeker doesn't know this, he will be unable to conceive these ideas or misled, confused. As I said, in any kind of science, any philosophy, you need a methodology to explain the theory what you are talking about. So Vedanta also has a peculiar type of methodology. It's only for Vedanta to explain these ideas. Now, why we need this? This question comes. If Satchidananda is Brahman, how the Brahman is all-pervading and how this creation is created? The question comes. Why the question comes? When we see the creation, including the individual personalities as living beings, as us, we see the creation with names and forms and all kind of changes. Brahman is changeless, partless, indivisible. Then how this creation can happen from that Brahman, which has no form, which is subtlest of that realm or whatever stage which is there. Now from that subtlest form of that Brahman or unchangeable Brahman, how this creation can happen? How all this wonder is happening? So now we have to explain it. Therefore, the second level of realities comes. This second level from here, as I said, this is it is included in the methodology or parts of methodology. It means the system we use to explain brings all these technical terms as Maya, Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat and Apanchikrita, Panchikrita, all the terms. This I will connect all these things after the first explanation of this. Now, we want to know the reality as Brahman. Now you see, there is something connected to this word reality. I want to just mention that. We use this word as reality. What does it mean? people think the reality, it means it is different from ideas, different from philosophy, different from experience, something what we know directly with our sense organs or with our intellect mind. So this is what people think reality is. Like this table is real for me. Why? Because I can see it, touch it, taste it. This is real. Now if I think about something in the mind, in the thought level, I don't believe that is real. Yes? So this is the problem with knowing the reality. As we say real, what is reality? What is reality? So the concept in the mind, so what is the thought process in the mind? It's a process. We know this is only thought. It has no reality. If you want to make it real, it should be proved with the sense organs and or scientifically whatever we say, you have to see it or know it. Then we say it is real. But the word, really the word means something different from this, which is very much connected to the Vedantic theory. The reality, the word means, it means something related to things, objects. Reality means related to objects, related to things. The realisis or something, the word from Latin, it means relation with, and resi means thing, object. It's also from Latin. So the reality means it is a noun that is derived from this Latin reasis, and then it says something connected to a thing and object. It doesn't say it should be with sense organs or you have to know directly, nothing. It is talking about something, some object, and you are trying to know it, or already you know it, whatever. So Vedantic philosophy also says the same thing. Now what is Brahman? The Brahman is related to the objects. Brahman is related to the entity as you. Brahman is not separate. So therefore, the reality of Brahman is nothing but Brahman. The reality of Brahman is nothing but the objects. So, just I wanted to connect this here. Now, in the way of explanation, how this creation manifests, how it comes out. So, we need some more agencies to connect this. Therefore, that Supreme Brahman, all-pervading consciousness, pure consciousness or cosmic consciousness, whatever we can say, Satchidananda, is not only consciousness, also cosmic existence, cosmic consciousness. So this is there. We change little bit. We make that Ishvara consciousness Brahman as Ishvara. So now that Brahman, when become Ishvara, is Brahman become active. Then some actions are going to happen. So that is, that Brahman got into action means it formed some changes. So it is changing itself. It's seemingly changing itself. So now this conceptual idea of Ishvara's form separating from Brahman is with attributions. So now Brahman is attributed. So we call the attributed Brahman is Ishvara. So we call it Saguna Brahma, Sarvajnaha, omniscient, Sarvashaktiman, omnipotent. So these is all attributions. Okay? So now what is the attribution there? What is the agent which is connected there? That is Maya. That is called Maya. Therefore, this attribution as Maya is to explain the Vedantic methodology of creation. Therefore, it is Upaya, means. It is, you made a formula there to explain it. This is not reality. The ultimate reality is Brahman only. This is conceptual reality or accepted reality for the purpose of teaching. Upayasovataraya nasti bheda kathanchana. The Mandukya Karika says. You see, all these Ishvara, Jagat, Jiva and the Maya and everything is a means to explain you, and this become a support for your sadhana to know the Brahman. This is a supportive cause. Now, Ishvara is nothing but Brahman, but with some attributions. So now what are the attributions? These attributions are attributed to make the creation. Therefore, the attribution should be in relation with the creation, the world, the material cause. Now this Ishvara become material cause in the terms of scientific language. Become matter, material cause. But this material cause has two aspects. One is Maya, another is consciousness. So Maya become matter, energy together, matter and energy together. And the consciousness is the controller, the organizer, or the observer of this matter itself. And they are one. Because the Maya is identical with Ishvara. Maya is the power of Ishvara, creative power of Ishvara. We can say Maya is identical, creative, supreme power of Ishvara when Ishvara become a creator. When we think of Brahman as a creator. So Brahman as a creator is called Ishvara. And Ishvara has the same nature as Brahman, Sat, Chit, Ananda. That has not changed. But we have, so attribution as a Maya. Now, this is an explanation to this connection. Now you know as you ask the question, what is the difference of Maya and Ishvara? I will bring an analogy to connect that. Now you have understood it. Like fire and the heat inside the fire. the heat which burns when you touch the fire, it burns. Now, is heat is different from fire? No. And fire is different from heat? No. That is, normally we can say that. But there is little difference. Fire is the base of heat. It means through fire we experience the heat. Heat can be experienced with some material, some hot material which can produce heat. Although heat is there in this wood even, but it is unmanifested. Unless the fire is burned here, fire is lit here, the heat cannot be produced. So now what to say? There is a slight difference, technical difference of heat and fire. Even though fire is burning, like some accident happens, the fireworkers go, the firemen go there, and they enter into the fire and try to reduce it. They put their effort to reduce it. So what they do, they are entering into the fire. The fire exists there, but they have taken the precaution, the protection, the fire coats. I think there is the word they use, fire to the protection. Yeah. So when they wear the fire coats and enter into the fire, the real fire, the burning fire, they are unaffected with the heat. They are unburned and they can destroy the fire. Now, they are entering to the fire, but the heat is not affected. It means heat can be blocked. Heat can be reduced. Heat can be increased. If you make, I think in physics there is a process to make different kind of fire. Because like the gas fire is different from the wood fire. And wood fire is different from the fire we burn like with the papers or small objects. Because when the carbon and things changes, the intensity or the depth of burning sensation also changes. And that is one thing. Now, the fire is not, the heat is not different from fire, but without heat, fire has no quality or no ability to burn anything. You got the point? Similarly, the Maya, the power, the creative power is not different from Ishvara. Because of this power, Ishvara can create. If this power is not there, Ishvara is unable to create anything. Like the fire cannot burn the objects if it has not sufficient heat. So it can be reduced and increased. Okay. Now another connection with this. Now what we think as fire is burning fire. Like when it is the flame with the flame and fire, like in the wood and all other objects. But fire is there in the heated iron. When the steel is heated, it is black. You touch, you burn your fingers. Now fire is not seen there. Now there what we can say is there is fire or heat. We have to say there is fire. But the flame and the form of fire is not there. Only the heat is there. And similarly, when we boil the oil, because in India we use lot of oil for cooking and making pakodas and things like that. So when we heat the oil, cooking oil, we can't see any fire in that. But if you dip the finger in that, definitely it burns. So it means the fire has different forms, and it is in any form we call it fire only. Similarly, Ishvara and the Maya is one and the same as entity, as reality, but technically they have two different things. Now from this Maya we bring the concept of material cause to explain the methodology of creation. You have to remember this everywhere. I am using in between to bring this connection. Otherwise, one may think that all methodology explained very well established in Vedanta is real as such. It is also part of Vedanta. But no, it is not the philosophical or the reality of Vedanta. It is a methodology used to explain the Vedanta. And this Maya, now we have to explain little more on Maya, and Ishvara we will explain more on Ishvara on the next two questions, or all the three questions are connected. So now this Maya concept is not brought by Shankaracharya alone. There is another misunderstanding regarding this. People say Shankaracharya as Mayavadi, the preacher of Maya, the teacher of Maya. No. Shankaracharya as a Vedantic, Advaitic philosopher, he has not established, preached anything which he has not known from his tradition. Whatever he said, whatever he explained and established is based on the Vedantic tradition which was there forever, eternal. Whatever he got, he experienced it, and then for the benefit of sadhakas, for the benefit of the world, he explained it in such a way that you can grasp it easily. This is what he said. Therefore, if you see the Maya concept, you can see this Maya in Vedas. It is said in Vedas, Indro Maya Bhippururupa Iyate. So the word Maya comes there. Mayam tu prakritim vidyat mayinam tu maheshwaram. This is in the Upanishad, Shvedashvatara Upanishad. Even in Yajurveda, Yajnasya Mayaya Sarvanava Yajamahe. So this word comes, Yajnasya Mayaya Sarvanava Yajamahe. Gita is of course. Devi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Maya Medam Tarantite Maya Hesha Maya Srishta Yenmam Pashyadi Narada in Purana. So people of philosophy should correctly understand this Maya concept is this is not brought by Shankaracharya, and he is not Mayavadi. He is, if at all he is a Vadi, he is a preacher. He is a preacher of Brahman. He was the preacher of Brahman. He was not the preacher of Maya. So, this is the concept of Maya. Now, what is the role of Maya in Vedanta? It means what we get if we take this concept of Maya in Vedanta, what benefit we get for the explanation of or the establishment of philosophy. You see, here, if, what the explanation says, first thing is, Maya is compared with magic, the magical power. It is a comparison, analogy. Like a great magician can create with his magic power whatever he wants. And the people who see his magic believe what he is showing. And they think they have seen seen the object really. There is something real there. But for the magician, no object is real, and he has full control over the power he is using as a magic for the magic. So with this idea, this analogical concept, Vedanta uses this power as Maya. And this is one point. The another point is, because as you know, when a philosophy is established, the philosophy should be different from other schools of philosophy. One has to correctly, minutely separate, distinguish his philosophy from the existing other philosophies. Then only this philosophy is considered as a philosophy just as a philosophy. Otherwise, you are just taking the ideas from other philosophy and explaining in your words. Doesn't make a philosophy, separate philosophy. Like we have six school of philosophy, famous philosophy schools. So now here in Vedanta, when we talk about creation, we need a material cause. Because creation cannot be explained without material cause. We need a material cause. We need a efficient cause. We need the reason for the creation also. Okay, so for this, when we talk about material cause, we have to distinguish our concept of material cause from the concept of other philosophies. So now, the nearest philosophy which can be connected with Vedanta, standing in front of Vedanta philosophy, is Sankhya philosophy. Because the concept, the ideas there in the Sankhya is very much connected to Vedanta. It is the nearest one. Now they have a material cause called Prakriti, nature. The equilibrium of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas
is Prakriti for them. Now that Prakriti is material cause for them, and their efficient cause, or they don't say efficient cause, as consciousness is separate from them. And this material cause as Prakriti creates everything. And it has no control, it has no connection with the consciousness as such. The consciousness is separate entity, and this material cause is separate entity. Consciousness is all-pervading and actionless, changeless. Only the witnessing factor, knowing factor. But this Prakriti has full freedom to manifest itself. So this material cause is very famous in the philosophical textbook, all the Puranas, all these Mahabharatam epics, and it is very famous in the with the mass. No, the people all know this Prakriti and Purusha. Now, when we establish our material cause, we have to separate from that, because our material cause is based on consciousness. Their material, Sankhya's material cause is not based on consciousness. It has no connection with consciousness in relation with creation. In order to establish the separation, the difference, we have to say this, our Maya as material cause is based on the conscious entity. The material cause is not different from conscious entity. So here the material cause as matter and energy together. Maya is matter and energy, active and cognitive, both. So both together is Maya. So therefore, now how it is based on consciousness? Ishvara is consciousness, supreme consciousness as creator, and this material cause is based on that creator. As the example analogy says, the magician has the power with him. He has full control over the power. He is with that power, and he is creating and showing the imaginary or the magical techniques, tricks outside. So people are enjoying it. So similarly, in the Gita also says, Mama Maya Duratyaya. So this creative power is mine. It is me. It is not different from me. Only for this purpose, these two purposes, we have brought this Maya concept here. Now another point regarding this Maya, because this is important point, we will take up this with the connection, with all these factors connected to that. People say Maya is ignorance. Neuroscience. So, the ignorance is Maya, then what does it mean? All creation is created from ignorance. If ignorance is Maya, we should say that Ishvara is with ignorance, because the Maya is the creative power of Ishvara. And we already discussed that the Maya is identical creative power of Ishvara. It is inherent in Ishvara, or what we attributed to Ishvara, it is there in Ishvara. Ishvara is without Maya is Brahman. So therefore, when it is Ishvara, it has the power. Like a person who is normally a human being, when he gets a special power of a position, some administrative special power of position, he becomes an officer. So when he become an officer, he can do the things connected to that position, that power he got. Now what the power is? Is all for the purpose. So similarly, the person is different from that, but he wants to do something, he needs a special power. Like a human being become prime minister. So when he become prime minister, he can do many things there. In that case, if this Maya is ignorance, we have to say this Ishvara is ignorant. But nowhere in the scriptures or nobody is ready to accept the Supreme God, Almighty God is ignorant. Because He has the power of ignorance. Because in Vedanta also, in Vedantic philosophy where it is discussed, some place they connect the Maya and the Avidya, ignorance together and say that the same. That is why I am saying it is different. They are bringing many quotings from Vedanta as in Bhashya also. Therefore I took this point because we cannot say the ignorance is the creative power as when we discuss the philosophical creation here. This is the wrong concept led to this all problems that people say Vedanta says this creation is because of ignorance or ignorance created this. You see, this word itself is wrong. This sentence itself is wrong. If you say ignorance created, the last session we have discussed this. Knowledge cannot create anything. Knowledge cannot destroy anything in real. Similarly, the ignorance will not create anything and will not destroy anything. Ignorance is superimposition. Ignorance cannot do anything. Now, with that ignorance, how this manifestation can happen? No. Yeah. Now, that point is clear. Now you see, we will go a little further connecting to the next question.